And so the truth about following Jesus is that the mission is hard. And there is life and there is blessing at the end, but the reality is that it's hard in the meantime. And for most of us, as we read this, even as myself, it's not an appealing invitation. It's a call to lose our lives, as verse 39 says. You see, it's one thing to understand the reality of this mission, but as I said, we don't just need to understand the reality of it, we need to embrace it. So the question is, how do God's people just embrace it? It's not just how do we endure that. What would motivate someone to embrace that kind of a life on mission with Jesus? I remember a few years ago there was a video that went viral where there was these people, they were doing an interview and they were recording this job interview. It was kind of like a Skype job interview. And the title of the position was Director of Operations. And so people would get on this Skype call with this guy who was doing these interviews, and he'd talk about the expectations of the job, and he would say, basically the hours are 18 to 24 hours a day. There's no breaks. There's no vacations. You're constantly on your feet. You need to have expert level interpersonal and negotiating skills, and you need to always have a good attitude. Oh yeah, and the pay is nothing. And people's faces, he's going, they're just like, is this a real conversation? Like, what is going on? This sounds crazy. Like one of the people's like, is that even legal? Is it even legal for you to have those kind of job requirements? Who would do that? All the people are like, who would take this job? And then the interviewer says, moms. Moms have that job. And it's like this feel-good moment, right? And everyone's like, oh, I love my mom so much. Like, that is totally true. She has no breaks, and she's done all this stuff for me, right? And there's just this moment where they're just like, man, I love my mom. You see, the life of Jesus' kingdom's ambassadors are a lot like that. You see, the job that we have been invited into seems crazy at some times, and so the thing that motivates us to embrace that kind of life, like the people who responded in love and gratitude for their moms who did all of that for them, is that we respond in love and gratitude to a God who has done all of it for us. You see, all that we can expect as we live on mission with Jesus, all that is required as we live on mission with him, Jesus has already done all of it for us. You see, King Jesus gave up the independent use of his divine authority, and instead he depended completely on the Father's provision and direction and spirit. Do you sense the weight of that? The creator of the universe gave up his authority, the one who made all things. He got hungry, and he felt tired, and he experienced pain. You see, Jesus gave up his authority so that he might surrender and submit to the Father's leading and direction and spirit. And Jesus lived with an eternal perspective. Hebrews tells us that for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. And Jesus experienced rejection and opposition and hatred and conflict and betrayal, even from those who were most close to him. His family called him out in front of public and tried to kind of have him brought in. His disciples rejected him. Often Peter, his most ardent follower, denied him 3 times the night that he was arrested. You see, Jesus experienced rejection and opposition and hatred and conflict and betrayal. In the face of all that, even in the face of torture on the cross, Jesus chose to worship the Father instead of fear man. And God's word says that he did that for you. Philippians 2 says that Jesus considered us as more valuable than himself. You need to let that sink in. See, the creator of the universe said that we, rebellious enemies of his rule and authority, were more valuable than him. I have a hard time putting my family's needs in front of my own, let alone people who have hated and rejected me. You see, we will never join Jesus on mission, and we will never embrace the call that he has given us unless we see that he has pursued us in the way that he is calling us to pursue others.